Welcome back. You are watching Weekend Today and I am live from Melbourne this morning. Well, COVID lockdowns are certainly pushing many small businesses to the brink. A voice for the masses, Victorian photographer Karl says enough is enough.
When I heard about that lockdown, I felt like a part of me died today. I've got nothing left. I have worked my whole life for everything I have. I have never taken money off this government. I've never asked for a handout. And here I am on my knees begging for someone just to listen to me. Because I cannot do it. I cannot do this again.
And photographer Karl has been good enough to join us live from Torquay this morning. Karl, good morning to you. The reason you're on the show is because I had about 45 people in my network on Instagram forward me your very passionate post saying, this is how I feel. This is exactly how I feel when Melbourne was put in lockdown number 5. A few days in, we're day 3 of the lockdown. How are you feeling now?
To be honest, I feel really numb, Beck. I'm trying as best as I can to put one foot in front of the other, but I feel really rudderless. I feel really demotivated, and honestly, it's an unrelenting sadness and just numbness. Honestly, that's what it feels like.
You want Aussies to take a different approach to lockdowns. What's that?
I think we need to open the conversation. 18 months down the road, we keep saying the same thing, and the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Clearly, these lockdowns aren't working because the sacrifices being made by the same people wearing the same burdens are pushing people to breaking point. I personally know 3 people who have committed suicide. I know 4 people who have lost their homes. Across the country, people are losing their businesses. At what point of that suffering will we start to have the conversation and start to extend compassion?
I listened to your whole Instagram post, and you're certainly not saying that COVID doesn't exist, and you're not saying that we don't need to be careful. But what's your message to the politicians about these lockdowns?
Honestly, Beck, if I can be really honest, it's time to table the politics and get back to having a discussion as human beings and fellow Australians. At the moment, we've got federal and state governments just playing it out. It's all about political point scoring, and not once are the average Australians being considered in these discussions. Blanket policies and just shutting the door on people isn't actually resolving anything. It's just putting a band-aid over this situation. So when it comes to lockdowns, I've never once said that COVID isn't a real thing, and no one is taking away the severity and the seriousness of the situation. But there's multiple levels to this. The conversation needs to include all of those other facets.
Karl, we had 19 cases yesterday. I think you're probably in the same boat as many Victorians, fearing that the lockdown will not end on Tuesday. How do you feel about that? Honestly,
Beck, I'm running out of words. At this point, it just feels like there's nothing left in the dictionary to explain how I feel. I'm just absolutely crushed. And the thing that I find so frustrating is I have to get to that point of putting an Instagram video up, expressing my rage and breaking down, which, is not something I want people to view me as. But that seems to be where it gets to before people start to actually listen. We're 18 months down the road. I've personally been in lockdown for almost 11 months. How much more suffering are people expecting small business to take on? We've carried the full burden of these lockdowns. Small business has funded these lockdowns. At what point are people going to go, these guys deserve some reprieve? There are different ways. Looking across the globe, people are opening up again. We do have a vaccine. We have things that can help us have a much more encompassing discussion about how to progress through this.
Karl, interestingly, off the back of your Instagram post, a GoFundMe page has been set up. Not that you certainly asked for that. How much money has been raised, and what are you going to do with the money? Or
it did get set up, and to be honest, I didn't want to be some Robin Hood for small business. I'm already at breaking point. I'm already really vulnerable myself, and the last thing I feel I can take on is other people's stories and other people's stress. But it seems to be my voice that has resonated. There are 3 people who I know who are close to losing everything. One of my best friends is about to lose their house. I'm going to split that up between those people that I know. It was set up by someone I've never met. I don't know this person. We did decide to cap it straight away because there was so much support, and I don't want to be greedy. I don't want to be taking all of this money. There's so many people who need help. But what I want to highlight is how quick the Australian people were to band together when they saw one of their own suffering. Why can't our government do that? You know, we all pay tax, and why is our government letting the same people continually fall through the cracks? If the Australian public can band together to support people like me, then our own government should be able to do it.
Karl, I think there are so many Australians nodding their head at the TV sets this morning. You articulated your feelings so well. There are so many people in the same boat as you. Good on you for, putting yourself out there publicly and expressing how you really feel. And we all hope that this ends really soon. Thank you very much, Karl, and please take care.
Thanks, Beck.
All right, and of course, if this story raises any issues for you or you are struggling to cope, there is help. You can, of course, call Lifeline on 13 11 14.